Welcome to the Local Content Studio, the podcast where we help local professionals turn what they already know into content that builds visibility, trust, and authority. I'm your host, Larita Marie Kimball, founder of New Media Local. And today I want to talk directly to attorneys, especially immigration attorneys and civil rights attorneys, because there's a content trap I see attorneys fall into all the time. And it's not that you don't have anything to say. It's not that you're not knowledgeable. It's not even that you don't understand the value of being visible. The trap is that you're trying to create content the hard way. You're trying to come up with topics from scratch. You're trying to write posts between client calls. You're trying to explain complex legal issues in a way that's professional, accurate, and still easy for people to understand. You're trying to use AI, but the content comes out sounding generic. You're trying to show up online while you're also managing deadlines, consultations, filings, hearings, client emergencies, community obligations, and the pressure of billable work. And eventually, content becomes one more thing on an already overloaded list. So you either post inconsistently, post generic content, or avoid it altogether. That's the content trap. And today, I want to show you a better way. Because attorneys don't need to become full-time content creators. You need a system that pulls the expertise out of your head and turns it into content that actually works. That's where the 5-minute AI journalist interview comes in. One short interview, your real voice, your real expertise, your real point of view, and from that, 30 days of content. So let's talk about why this works. Attorneys aren't out of ideas, they're out of bandwidth. Most attorneys think their content problem is an idea problem. They say things like, I don't know what to post. I don't want to sound like everyone else. I don't have time to write every day. I don't want to give legal advice online. I know I should be more visible, but I'm too busy. And that makes sense. But here's what I want you to understand. You're not out of ideas. You're surrounded by content ideas every single day. Every consultation has content inside it. Every repeated client question has content inside it. Every misconception you correct has content inside it. Every mistake you see people make before they call you has content inside it. Every referral partner conversation has content inside it. Every I wish people knew this sooner moment has content inside it. For an immigration attorney, the content might be sitting inside the questions people ask before they apply for a visa, adjust status, prepare for a family-based petition, respond to a request for evidence, or try to figure out what happens after a missed deadline. It might be in the fears clients bring into that first consultation. Questions like, will this affect my family? What documents do I need? What happens if I made a mistake years ago? Should I apply now or wait? What should I avoid posting online? What happens if my spouse and I separated before my case was finished? Those questions aren't just questions, they're content opportunities. And for a civil rights attorney, the content might be sitting inside the patterns you see when someone has been mistreated by an employer, a public agency, a school, law enforcement, a landlord, or another institution. It might be in questions like, was what happened to me discrimination? Should I be documenting this? What counts as retaliation? What should I do before I file a complaint? Is this just unfair? Or could it actually be legally significant? What do I need to preserve? What should I avoid doing right now? Again, those questions aren't just questions. They're the foundation for trust building content. The problem isn't that attorneys lack insight. The problem is that you're moving too fast to capture it. You answer the question, you solve the problem, you move to the next client, and the content disappears. That's why trying to sit down and create content from memory is so frustrating. By the time you finally have a moment to write, your brain is tired, your calendar is full, and the blank page feels impossible. That's the wrong workflow. Attorneys shouldn't have to stop practicing law so they can become content machines. Your content system should fit around the way you already think and work. And that starts with extraction. Not writing, not brainstorming, not staring at a blank screen. Extraction. Now let's talk about why generic content doesn't build trust. When attorneys don't have a content system, they usually fall back on safe content. A holiday graphic, an inspirational quote, a vague legal tip, a copied and pasted Awareness Month post, or an AI written article that sounds like every other law firm website. You know the kind of content I mean. Understanding your rights is important. If you're facing a legal matter, contact an experienced attorney who can guide you through the process. That's technically true, but it doesn't build trust. It doesn't reveal how you think. It doesn't help a potential client feel understood. It doesn't help a referral partner remember what kinds of matters to send your way. And it definitely doesn't separate you from the attorney down the street. For immigration attorneys, generic content often sounds like this. Immigration law can be complicated. An experienced immigration attorney can help you understand your options. Again, true, but not memorable. A stronger piece of content might sound like this. A lot of immigration clients wait to call an attorney because they're embarrassed about a mistake in their history, a missed deadline, or a document they don't understand. But the earlier you get clarity, the more options you may be able to explore. That's more useful. It names a real fear. It speaks to a real situation. It helps someone feel seen. For civil rights attorneys, generic content often sounds like this. If your rights have been violated, you may be entitled to legal protection. Also true, but vague. A stronger version might sound like this. A lot of people don't recognize retaliation when it starts. It may look like sudden write-ups, changed schedules, exclusion from meetings, new hostility, or pressure to resign after raising a concern. The pattern matters, and documentation can be important. That kind of content gives people language for what they're experiencing. It doesn't overpromise, it doesn't give case-specific advice, but it educates, it clarifies, and it builds trust. The issue with generic content is that it's safe but forgettable. It checks a box, but it doesn't create connection. And for attorneys, connection matters, not in an unprofessional way, in a trust-building way. When someone is looking for an immigration attorney, they may be worried about their future, their family, their status, their job, their safety, or their ability to stay in the country. When someone is looking for a civil rights attorney, they may be angry, confused, afraid, embarrassed, or unsure whether what happened to them matters legally. They're not just looking for legal information, they're looking for judgment, they're looking for clarity, they're looking for someone who understands the situation and can help them think through the next step. Your content should give them a preview of that. It should answer the questions they're already asking. It should name the mistakes they're worried about making. It should explain the process in plain language. It should help them understand when it may be time to call someone like you. And that kind of content can't come from generic prompts alone. It has to come from your actual expertise. That's why the source matters. If the content starts with a generic AI prompt, you get generic AI content. But if the content starts with a focused interview that pulls out your real experience, your real language, and your real perspective, then AI can help turn that into something useful. That's the difference. AI shouldn't replace your expertise. AI should organize it and amplify it. Now let's talk about the billable hour trap. Attorneys face a very specific challenge. Your time is directly tied to client work. That means content often feels expensive before it even gets created. If you spend an hour writing a LinkedIn post, that's an hour you're not billing, preparing, reviewing, responding, filing, meeting, or serving a client. So content gets pushed aside. And honestly, that makes sense. The urgent work wins, the client deadline wins, the filing deadline wins, the hearing wins, the emergency call wins, the motion, the application, the affidavit, the evidence review, or the intake call wins. But here's the problem. Visibility work usually doesn't feel urgent until the pipeline slows down. Then suddenly the firm needs more inquiries, more referrals, more recognition, more visibility. But content doesn't work best when it's rushed during a slow month. It works best when it's consistent before people need you. That's the billable hour trap. Attorneys delay content because they're busy. Then they need content because they haven't been visible. And when they finally try to create it, they're doing it under pressure. That's when people start posting random updates, outsourcing generic blogs, or using AI to produce content that sounds polished but empty. The way out isn't to add more hours to your week. The way out is to reduce the time it takes to create useful, trust building content. That's exactly why we use the 5-minute AI journalist interview, because 5 minutes is realistic. 5 minutes can fit between calls. 5 minutes can capture what would otherwise be lost. 5 minutes can pull out enough insight to fuel an entire month of visibility. The goal isn't more work. The goal is more leverage. So what is the 5-minute AI journalist interview? Think of it as a guided interview designed to pull the best content out of your head quickly. Instead of asking an attorney to sit down and write 30 posts, the AI journalist asks strategic questions. For an immigration attorney, those questions might sound like, what's one mistake people make before contacting an immigration attorney? What do clients often misunderstand about documentation? What's one question families ask over and over again? What should someone know before trying to handle an immigration matter on their own? What causes unnecessary delays? What are people afraid to tell an attorney, but really shouldn't hide? What's one myth about immigration law that creates confusion? What should community organizations know before referring someone to your office? For a civil rights attorney, the questions might sound like, what's one warning sign that someone may be experiencing retaliation? What should people document after a troubling incident? What do clients often misunderstand about discrimination claims? What's the difference between something feeling unfair and something that may need legal review? What patterns do you see before someone finally reaches out for help? What should people avoid doing when they're emotional or overwhelmed? What do referral partners need to understand about the kinds of civil rights matters you review? What's one thing you wish people knew earlier? Those questions are simple, but the answers are powerful because they're based on your real experience. You're not manufacturing content, you're documenting your expertise. And once that interview is captured, it can be turned into 30 days of content. That could include LinkedIn posts, short video scripts, email newsletter topics, website FAQ content, social media captions, podcast talking points, client education posts, referral partner content, and lead magnet ideas. And the attorney doesn't have to create all of that manually. The attorney just needs to answer the right questions once. That's the shift. The 5-minute AI journalist interview turns content creation from a blank page problem into a guided conversation. And that's why it works so well for busy attorneys. Now let's talk about why this content sounds better. One of the biggest fears attorneys have about AI generated content is that it'll sound generic. And that fear is valid. Most AI content does sound generic when the input is generic. But the 5-minute AI journalist interview changes the input. It captures your point of view. It captures the words you actually use. It captures your priorities. It captures the patterns you see in your practice. It captures the concerns your clients bring to you. That means the content isn't being invented from scratch. It's being built from your expertise. For example, instead of an immigration attorney posting, immigration law is complex and it's important to speak with an attorney, the content might become, one reason people delay calling an immigration attorney is because they're afraid one mistake will ruin everything. But silence can create more confusion. Getting clarity early can help you understand what matters, what documents may be needed, and what questions to ask before taking the next step. That sounds more human. It speaks to emotion. It reflects the reality of the client experience. For a civil rights attorney, instead of posting, know your rights if you've been discriminated against, the content might become, a lot of people minimize what happened to them because they're not sure it was serious enough. But when treatment changes after you report a concern, request an accommodation, speak up about harassment, or challenge unfair treatment, the timeline may matter. Write things down while they're fresh. That's useful, it's specific. It helps someone think more clearly, and it helps referral partners understand who may need to speak with you. That's what good legal content should do. It shouldn't just inform, it should build trust. And I want to be clear about something. The goal isn't for attorneys to become influencers. The goal isn't to chase trends. The goal isn't to turn your legal practice into a performance. And the goal definitely isn't to post just for the algorithm. The goal is to make your expertise easier to find, understand, and trust. There's a big difference. An immigration attorney can build visibility in a way that's professional, compassionate, and educational. A civil rights attorney can build visibility in a way that's powerful, clear, and grounded in public education. You can educate without over-explaining. You can be visible without being performative. You can use AI without sounding robotic. You can market without feeling like you're selling all the time, but you do need a system. Because random content creates random results, a 5-minute AI journalist interview gives you a starting point. From there, your content can be organized into themes. One week could focus on common mistakes. One week could focus on frequently asked questions. One week could focus on myths and misconceptions. One week could focus on when to seek legal guidance. One week could focus on referral education. Now your content has structure, it has intention, it has consistency, and most importantly, it sounds like it came from someone with actual experience. Because it did. Let's make this practical. Imagine an immigration attorney sits for a 5-minute AI journalist interview. In that short conversation, They answer questions about what clients misunderstand before filing, what documents people often forget, what fears stop people from seeking help, and what mistakes can make the process more stressful. From that one interview, we could create a LinkedIn post about common documentation mistakes, a short video script about why people shouldn't guess on forms, an email about what to gather before a consultation, a website FAQ about what happens during the first meeting, a referral partner post for churches, nonprofits, schools, or community organizations, a myth busting post about immigration timelines, a client education post about why honesty with your attorney matters, a short video about why waiting can make options harder to understand. And that's just from a few answers. Now imagine a civil rights attorney sits for the same kind of interview. From 5 minutes, we could create a LinkedIn post about signs of retaliation, a short video about why documentation matters, an email about what to write down after an incident, a website FAQ about the first consultation, a referral partner post for therapists, advocacy groups, HR consultants, unions, community leaders, or other attorneys, a myth busting post about discrimination, a client education post about preserving evidence, a short video about why patterns matter more than isolated moments. Again, that's just from one interview. The point is that every practice area has a built in content engine. It's your knowledge, it's your client conversations, it's your pattern recognition, it's your ability to explain complicated issues in a way people can understand. The 5 minute AI journalist interview simply captures that and turns it into assets. So the real shift is this: stop asking, what should I post today? Start asking, what expertise have I not captured yet? That one question changes everything because attorneys already have the raw material. You have the insight, you have the stories, you have the client questions, you have the professional judgment, you have the local knowledge, you have the experience. But if it stays in your head, it can't build visibility. It can't educate potential clients. It can't support referrals. It can't help someone understand when they may need guidance. And it can't help your community see the value of the work you do. Your content shouldn't depend on whether you feel inspired. It should come from a repeatable process. That's how you get out of the content trap. Not by posting more for the sake of posting, not by copying what other attorneys are doing, not by relying on generic AI content, but by turning your real expertise into a system. 5 minutes of guided conversation, 30 days of useful content. That's the kind of leverage busy attorneys need. So, if you're an immigration attorney or a civil rights attorney listening to this and you've been telling yourself, I know I need to post more, but I don't have time, I want you to hear this. You may not need more time, you may need a better extraction process. Your next 30 days of content may already be sitting inside the questions you answered this week, the consultation you just had, the misconception you corrected, and the fear you helped someone name, the mistake you keep seeing, the explanation you've given 100 times. That's the content. You don't need to become a content creator. You need to let your expertise become content. That's why we built the 5 minute AI journalist interview. It helps attorneys get out of the content trap and into a visibility system that's faster, smarter, and more aligned with the way you already work. One short interview, 30 days of content, no blank page, no generic posts, no pretending you have hours to sit around brainstorming, just your expertise captured and turned into a system. I'm Larita Marie Kimball, founder of New Media Local, and this has been the Local Content Studio. Thanks for listening. If you're an immigration attorney or civil rights attorney who wants 30 days of content pulled from one 5 minute interview, New Media Local can help you turn your expertise into LinkedIn posts, short video scripts, emails, FAQs, and client education content without starting from a blank page.